back. You guys have to put up with my voice for another 20 minutes, but we have a new panelist, so we're going to do a fireside chat about this topic minus one word, which we'll let them figure out what that word is, but get into it. They heard about me for a little, so you started us off.
Sure. So it's actually an interesting subject because I have nothing to say about it and a lot to say about it.
That's what I said. There's one word we're going to skip, and let's see if you guys figured that out.
But to be honest, at the end of the day, I'm here to speak, right? So I'm going to be vocal about it. And eventually, I come from the old world, and I'm in the new world right now. And eventually, when you speak about sustainable, ESG flavor and green, back, like 10 years ago, it was a thing where overnight everybody needs to put a, ESG flavor to an investment, right? In the traditional finance world. 2023, a few weeks ago, I was in Singapore to a very large gathering of GPs, general partners, and limited partners. And the talking tone was impact fund, impact investing, ESG again, and so on. And I was like the underdog there. Why? Because they were like, you speak about Bitcoin, you speak about crypto, such a bad word, right? And digital assets. And I was like, I'm sorry, but in Bitcoin philosophy, there is DNI in the DNA of the blockchain itself. It's all about access and inclusion. So if you look into projects like X Infinity in the Philippines, you would see people that literally overnight change castes, right? So these people, seriously were coming from, the misery of the world, like slumdog. And overnight now, they can send their children to university. And if it's not impactful, then what it is, right?
Right.
So when I said I have nothing to say and a lot to say about it, for me, by definition, in the blockchain, there is sustainability, there is inclusion, and it's green by default. So it's debatable, right?
You're good at tippy-toeing. I got to learn from you, but we had a good talk about the topic above. We didn't get into intros, but they heard a little bit about us. But my condolences go to Sucker, whose family, one of his family passed away. I believe I'm taking his seat today, so condolences to him and his family. What we do at GIMA Group as it pertains to this topic is try to develop. Right, I'm just trying to find companies or development companies that are innovating but actually implementing. So when I see investment landscape or energy, specifically here in Dubai, I see less implementation and I see more innovation, a lot of creation. But now I think it's time to step up and implement some of these things, regardless of ESG, regardless of sustainability, regardless of it. It all comes down to we have to create economy. We have to transact. I just got off a payments panel that is about transactions. If we can't transact, what good are we, right? So give us your quick intro for the audience. And friends in the back, just out of respect to the audience, if you could just keep it a little down, super appreciate it back there. Give us a little intro, and then what is your investment appetite?
Sure. So as said before, I come from the old world, right? So I've been 15 years in capital markets. You can feel the love. Eventually, at some point, it was not even a FOMO, it was like more than an urge, a true calling. I had to be on the right side of the coin. And I say that respectfully to the biggest naysayers of the industry, which is my past, actually, that old world. But back then...
15 years ago?
15 years in capital markets.
15 years, and then how long in...
In crypto, more than 7 years.
More than 7 years, because I was in 2008. So I was trying to see, okay, so you lived the financial crisis, and then look at where we are now.
I was born there.
So there you go.
I was born there.
There you
so
go.
I'm very PTSD much, right?
There you go, same. I was a trader at Morgan Stanley. That doesn't exist anymore as an entity, so look at where we are.
Been there, done that, right? So just imagine back in 2021 when I am in Asia and I'm leading a sales team that is selling negatively yielding bonds to sovereign wealth fund. And the narrative was like, well, this is better than keeping your treasury on a bank account because you have holding fees. So how do you want to die? With a knife or a gun, literally? And eventually, that's where it was again my work ethic, right? So I was like, okay, I need to go on the right side of the coin in the sense that things are happening there and you have juice coming from the blockchain and this and that, and I was exploring it. So eventually, I then, ended up in a digital asset manager for some time, and I transitioned from Hong Kong to Dubai. And then I decided to run my own show, right? So co-launching actually my own venture capital firm, investing in growth stage Web3, de-risked, that made a proof, and eventually in the future of tomorrow as well. early stage of the next iteration of the internet.
You mentioned Axie Infinity.
Yes.
And I thought that that's a great example, and it's not a terrible, like the terrible example of what tokenomics should have been, could have been, didn't become. Great example in community adoption, like that overnight type of click that I was talking about. There was whole communities that were basing their economy off of SLP token rather than the peso of their local currency. There was taxi services that would put up a QR code that said pay in SLP, the native token of the Axie Infinity. Axie Infinity is a game, is a Web3 game. Guys, out of respect to the room in the back, please, in the back, all I can hear is y'all. Guys, please.
Yeah.
Just out of respect to the room, if someone could hush our friends up. Axie Infinity was Ghost type on Netflix. It's an 18-minute documentary. Just type Philippines SLP Axie Infinity. It's a fantastic documentary, 18 minutes. It shows how a grandmother was running a town of 80,000 people, teaching them how to make money. The reason why I bring that up is because when we look at investments in adoption, community, or what I like to say, implementation, that was a really great example for Web3 gaming. It was also a really bad example because of the tokenomics. So we need, if you're going to build a game in Web3, we need gamers building it. If you're going to build a metaverse, you need game developers building it. Same goes with financial instruments and payment solutions. We need finance people doing it. So we need people like you and I who come from traditional finance to build these sophisticated products. I had to get 5 different securities licenses just to touch stocks. What is that in crypto? What is that in digital assets? Is there anything right now? No, as far as I'm concerned, there's no securities license or any license to touch that asset. What do you think about that? Is it going to have to mature? Are financial, expertise like yourself going to have to jump in and say, look, we need to think about this more traditionally, right? We're thinking about this way too digitally, but traditional, like I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The financial capital markets, they're in turmoil, but that's where the trillions are. What can crypto kind of learn from that?
You mean from TradFi?
Yeah.
So when I shifted from traditional, markets, and I've been through crisis and so on, and
yeah.
the importance of, due diligence, risk management, and then growing, compliance and so on. And at some point I was like, I want to go to the other side just because, it's a bit more, cowboy, and finally I'm going to become a gangster finally, I was like, I'm in, right? But then eventually big crisis happened, and I know we're just like, okay, we need to learn from the old world, how to be, and the importance of regulation. These being said, I'm very, much as an investor looking into the regulatory arbitrage. Because by the time we get to something homogeneous among different jurisdictions and so on, wait a minute, I don't know if with my own eyes I can see that happening. So I'm just like, there is still this arbitrage of ignorance, unfair advantage. I don't like unfair advantage, but from McKinsey, but yeah, arbitrage of ignorance. So there is something to be done there. Yeah.
Where would you, if there's a lot of fresh blood in crypto and blockchain, it seems like 2 years, right? I remember 17, 19, 21 during COVID. You see these periods of startup innovation, and then in between, 99% unfortunately fail. Tokens get delisted. Whether it's a good or bad project, irrelevant. What's your appetite when you look at startups in the scene? Where are you kind of putting your energy to? DeFi, real-world asset, tokenization. Where's your investment appetite in the landscape?
Sure. So basically, right now there is a big token ton as well, which is you mentioned it, the RWA, right? Because in a way, it's a bridge from TradFi to crypto because there is a bit of a component that is concrete. So it's easier for people to grasp it better than just metaverse. That sounds a bit weird for people, right? And at the end of the day, so how do you attract a community? Because by attracting that community, it's going to translate into P&L and revenues and so on, right? So that's one thing. So definitely RWA is a big thing, or a big flavor of the day, but as well DeFi, because it's also another bridge from traditional finance. So it's all about old money making new money right now, right? And how do you manage to convince them to look into it? Because I said before, deals guys are the biggest naysayers of the industry, right? So that's the two big components. But apart from it, there's a lot of things to be done on the entertainment space, but especially with the new technology coming in. So we've been, playing ostrich a little bit, and we think that AI is a new thing, like overnight, right? But it's been building for years. I was still in the dealing room, and I designed the very first AI chatbots back in 2017, right? So it was already a thing. So the AI becoming at a very mature stage, with all the quantum and so on, your computing quantum and so on. There are things coming to disrupt any single industry. And what I like to look into is when I see a use case with a direct UX that is changing my life. If it's changing my life, it's changing your life as retail individual. And then it's going to attract a lot of community and a lot of people coming in. So anything that will speak to me, just not like another immersive gaming or whatever, but something that will speak to me, I'm like, okay, there is many of me. So that's going to work, right? That speaks to me, it's going to change my life, it's going to be a game changer because I have the customer pain and the customer gain. And I understand it, right? I click.
So that thought when you were speaking there, it took me to, like, why Web3? Right? We're obviously all in the industry. We're trying to implement. Like I said, there's very little implementation. But what is really going on in Web3? Let's be honest. Let's be very honest right now. I'm the biggest maxi of my group. I'm the Bitcoin guy to my traditional friends and to my Ethereum buddies. I'm just the maxi in the room. But I tend to think that regulation is going to win. I don't think that true decentralization is like possible for a country when you're talking about interoperability of Forex and things that are completely out of the realm of our decision making. But CBDCs is another hot topic, right? So Web3izing, currency is CBDCs, if you can even say that. I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to find a way to work with it because I know it's coming, and I know that banks are going to offer solutions. That's another question I have for you. I asked on the last panel, do you think that banks and institutions are coming into DeFi? CDeFi, central DeFi, whatever you want to call it. So that's one question I want to hear your opinion on, and then just thoughts about CBDCs and do you think it's coming? And if it's coming, what are you going to do about it? Because I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to look for marketplaces. I'm going to look for ways to utilize it when it's open for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting because it's the first time we're meeting and on stage, and we're very aligned in everything about ESG flavors.
Did you catch that, everybody? Yeah, so the topic is very ESG and sustainability. We're not like against it, right? We're just being very realistic. We had a very frank conversation behind the stage, and the reality is that economies run differently currently, and it's not ESG driven. It's a subject too, but please.
So you say it right, CDeFi, right? DeFi is not mature yet per the wish or the ambition to be completely DeFi, decentralized. So it all comes down to being CDeFi. There will always be a centralized component to it, maybe through the off-ramping, maybe through different stories, or the hedging, or this or that, right? So that's one thing. CBDC, I vote for your league as well. I mean, I'm gonna make it work. But for me, it's a bit like, you're afraid of the spiders, and there is a spider in your room, and you look at it, and you're not gonna kill it because that's your heart, right? You're not killing it. You cohabit, you coexist. It's okay.
I still don't like spiders, and I'm not going to coexist with them. But But you're right. What are you going to do about it? You're going to kill it?
No,
you can't.
You can't.
Right? It's out of your hands.
That's my heart, right?
Right. You're going to work with it? Sure. Figure out a way. I think it'll be government subsidies first, and then we'll move on to marketplaces. But don't jump in front of the train and be Superman. Try to jump on it and go with it. And I know that's a very unpopular opinion for crypto and decentralization. I've been in this industry since 2013, mining. So mining, ESG, but the reality is that mining is the economy of Bitcoin, of crypto. And without it, it's the heartbeat, and yet it's a hated asset of our industry. So CBDCs are the same thing. It's super hated. It's very controversial. We don't know what to do with it. I just find a way to work with everything instead of fighting it. That leads me to kind of the Web3 side. You said Web4 backstage. Yeah. Say a couple words about that, but I'll just be another little controversial. What is Web3? No, what is it happening today? Today, who used Web3 today? Yeah. What KYC, AML, outside of your crypto trading or whatever, what did you do today that was so Web3? Right? Look at the badges that you're wearing. right? This is the simplest form that we can just take into the blockchain or NFTs as a collectible, whatever buzzword you want to use. But we're still wearing paper, plastic badges with QR codes that takes us to an app. What Web3, right? So again, I'm the investor in Web3, I'm a proponent, but let's just be very honest. What Web3?
Thank you so much for asking. It's my favorite. I mean, I'm going to say something. I might sound a bit arrogant, but as long as I stay elegant, it's fine.
No, be honest.
Web3 is vintage already.
Yeah.
So it's not mature per the ambition it has, but it's vintage already because we're already at the next innovations and the next technology coming in. So if I just go back in history, it all started with Web 0, because before Web 3, right, you need to get there. So Web 0, just for a little bit of a history recap, Web 0 was this French thing, the Minitel, the ancestor of the World Wide Web, right? And then Web 1 was read-only. I don't need to go to the library anymore. I go on Wikipedia, I can read stuff.
Right.
Web 2 is the longest in the lifespan of the WebX, if I have to say, numbers, because we're still in Web 2. Web 2 is read and write. It's a social web. We can interact now. I can edit my Wikipedia. I can send emails, Zoom, WhatsApp, TikTok, whatever. And then Web 3. Web 3 was read, write, own, and a link to data, but also immersive experience. So it was all very focused on the UX, the user experience, right? Have a more immersive interaction.
Right.
Like, at some point, the idea would be, are we in the real life right now? Are we in the metaverse? Like, I don't really know, right? This confusion level. Web 4 is the smart internet, is where everything, all these technologies are embedded together. So it's decentralized, peer-to-peer network by definition. But it's also blockchain as a layer. There is augmented VR, there is AI, obviously, and there is some quantum as well. So basically, it's the era of the data, and how to own your data, and how to become a superhuman in terms of like enhancing your brain capacity. Yeah.
That was really well said. I really hope that like we can digest that, because I've been a victim of what's the opposite of victim? Proponent of. I keep saying bridge Web 2 to Web 3, and just about 6 months ago I stopped saying that, because what bridge? What if actually anything there is a bridge between 2.5, the buzzword, but then we leapfrog over 3 to 4, what you're saying, because whatever the number scheme is. ChatGPT 3.5, 4, they're exponentially different, much better, faster, stronger. So did we not actually leapfrog Web 3 into Web 4? Because what you just said there made a lot of sense.
So I will tell you, it's all about future-proofing yourself. I'm at a stage where I want to, have a hedge against my own investments.
Right.
When I invested in a tech company a few years ago, who is protecting me against the incumbents? And incumbents are going to be an AI company, a blockchain company, a fintech company.
Yeah.
So it's by looking into it, being in the space, knowing, getting I'm going to speak clearly, material non-public information to invest in the future of tomorrow.
Right.
I'm just buying myself protection and potentially upside, but protection first. So when I speak to investors about coming into a fund and so on, I'm like, I'm not here to tell you about diversification, right?
Right.
You're a big lady, you're a big gentleman, you diversify your wealth by investing in gold, in equity, in fixed income, in crypto maybe, or digital assets, because we don't say crypto anymore.
Right.
But
I think that the word crypto as a currency is wrong, right? That's a whole other topic. We don't have a minute and 24 to go into, but cryptocurrency, I don't know, it's not a currency, so digital assets is much more professional. It'll give us a chance to do licensing like Series 67, a digital assets license or something like that. No one's going to get a...
I mean, we don't say crypto anymore. It's unfortunate because there have been crises that were fraud. Fraud can happen in any industry. And blockchain proved that it's here to stay.
Credit didn't change its name when there was fraud.
It's not like when CLN, credit-linked notes, were a bad word back then. That was real. It was a bad word for a reason. Crypto is not a bad word. But then, there is a confidence crisis. You need to reinstall and revamp and this and that. So now you say digital assets, right? But at the end of the day, looking into protecting myself against my own vintage investments, and looking into the future of tomorrow.
But you say that as if, and you're right, but you're saying as if you're speaking in 2033, not 2023. But my point in saying that is that maybe we already leapfrogged Web 3, because I don't see any utilization of it, yet I see a ton of utilization in the Web 4 today. right now. As we're speaking, it's happening right now. And that was very well said. So I hope we digested that, because Web3 is here and now, but where's the implementation? And do we even need to implement it, or are countries going to leapfrog into CBDCs instead of going? There's still countries around the world that don't have a credit system, like a true credit system like the West. Are they just going to leapfrog and go to, because that's what it feels like is happening from 2 to 4.
So I will tell you something about Web4, is that what I really love about it is that the UX is clear. You understand it. That's why I was saying I invest in something I understand, right? You understand it. So it's actually projects that are coming in. There is no product fit, they create the product fit.
Right.
So if you remember Steve Jobs 20 years ago, would be on stage, massive stage, and would be like, so now we're going to be able to call and to video in the same time. And people would be like, why? I mean, I don't need that. I'm in my bed. I don't want to put makeup and whatever, to have a call, right? Why would I do that? Look at us today. We can't live without our camera on our phone, right? He created the product fits.
Right.
So things that you don't even know you need are coming your way. And when you're going to see them, it's written on the wall, I want it, right? It's not a FOMO, it's a reality. You want it.
Bravo. I'm going to end it there. That was really well said. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. And see you soon.
Cheers. Thank you.